In this video, we're going to be covering how to ace a job interview when you're trying to land a job as a data analyst or digital marketing data analyst. I am doing this video because one of my email subscribers asked me to. That's right, I have a free email newsletter teaching you how I got a job as a digital marketing data analyst and sharing tips to show you my story, to teach you to get the same thing. I've been working 8 years in the digital marketing sphere. First 5 years was at a digital marketing performance agency where we did Google ads and SEO and PPC and Facebook ads. And then I transitioned to a more senior role at a different company as a digital marketing data analyst, which is a subset of a data analyst more focused on marketing tools and less on programming. And if you want free tips, including the free coaching calls I give out to people, join my free email newsletter. Link is down below. How do you actually ace the interview? Well, first things first, you really have to understand that it really is a soft skill, and it's a social game. It's a game and a skill in it of itself. A lot of people rely too heavily on just their technical skills, and they assume that just having good programming skills and knowledge of all the tools is enough. And it's typically not enough. There's a lot of people with great technical skills, but an inability to convey their value, inability to communicate effectively and concisely in front of peers and seniors and managers, and that's why they don't get hired. Hiring managers are looking for someone that they would enjoy working with, that have great communication skills, but also great technical ability. And that's why some people just never get to the level they want to get to. They want to work with someone they would enjoy working with. Now, when you look at some of these people with good technical skills, yes, it is really important, and you should have those. So make sure you have them. I think a lot of people also suffer from the problem of not having great technical skills. So then it's a double whammy of things that they don't have that are affecting their ability to get these jobs. And so that's sometimes the first thing I tell people to shore up. Dude, you don't know how to code at all in SQL. You don't know how to use any data visualization tool. These are examples of things that you need to figure out, or else how are you supposed to get the job? So please get those things down and covered. I don't think you should have the mindset of, oh, I will just, not have these skills and then somehow use my social skills and just spam resumes and job applications and then get my way into the company. And then when I'm there, I'm not gonna develop these skills either. I'm just gonna screw around and pretend I have these skills but don't, and then just hold on to this job. What do you think's gonna happen? It's probably not gonna succeed the way you think it is. So technical skills first, but once you have those, you need to have these social skills to demonstrate you have them, and also show the soft skills necessary to ace that job interview. So how do you do that? Well, you might be thinking your resume is going to be enough. Your portfolio and resume is going to be enough to prove you have the skills. And here's the thing, they will help a lot, but oftentimes, especially in this job field, and in my experience being on both sides of the hiring table, usually the job interviews are really to suss out if you actually have the job. You may be even put through an exercise on the spot or after the interview to test that you have these technical skills. But unfortunately, they've gone through experiences where they've been burned. They've hired someone who they thought had the skills. They were really just, talking out their butt, and then they don't have the skills, and then they have to let them go. It's a huge waste of money for the hiring company. And so that's why I kind of emphasize that first point. But really, the best way to demonstrate that is through your ability to communicate. Now, other than demonstrating your skills, what's another goal that you have to keep in mind with these job interviews? Well, you want to show yourself as someone who can communicate concisely, effectively. You have some social intelligence. You're not super awkward or weird. And you also want to convey a sense of value and a lack of desperation. Now, Most people aren't going to be extremely desperate and they're not going to put that off, but they may show some desperation, some low status, and those things all convey into the emotions and the kind of gut feeling that the hiring manager has. So the good news is you don't have to be perfect. I am by no means an expert communicator, but I was good enough to get the job. So how do you actually work on these things together? Well, one of the best ways is to have some friend or family member who's willing to do mock interviews with you. Run a few like 10-minute, 20-minute exercises where they ask you questions. They're going to ask you the same set of questions usually. They may drill into a few things and you'll get a real sense for the pattern of questions they'll ask once you get a bunch of job interviews. Have your friend or family member ask the same things and then respond to them. And then you can do a session afterwards where you analyze where you went wrong and better, and you can practice these skills. What are some other ways? Well, another way is just get a bunch of job interviews. That's how I did it. And then learn from each interview and even ask and reach out to the ones where you got rejected and learn what you could do better. A third way, this I used a lot too, was talking in front of a mirror or recording yourself in a video like I'm doing now, and then watching back how you sound and how you respond to things and just measuring them based off some of the criteria I mentioned. So one thing, let's put this all into practice and kind of walk through some of the criteria in more succinct, clear detail. So when you do an interview, let's say I just watch one, first thing I will assess is, did I ramble, did I waffle, or did I give the answer concisely? When you're rambling too much, it kind of shows that you don't know the answer, and then you're trying to make it up on the spot, which shows lack of credibility. So you really have to have a confidence, a certainty, and it's not that it has to be super concise, but it can't be super long with a ton of fluff where it just seems like you're stalling to think of an answer. So that's kind of like the first criteria I use. Some conciseness, but more so confidence and certainty with your answer. There's actually a exercise I've ran into through improv class. I'm actually pretty high up there in terms of improv skill. I've done improv for many years. I've gone all the way up to level 3 improv class. I'm currently in a minor league that practices and performs improv. And one of the exercises I ran into in like level 2 or something is there's a game where you actually are given a topic that you definitely know nothing about. They may throw out astrophysics, they may throw out something random like the microphysics of broccoli. It's usually something fun and random, but obviously you know nothing about. And then you're asked to give like a 1-minute kind of speech showing your expertise and skill with it. So it's a fun game, gets a lot of laughs, but also it really demonstrates the ability and skill set of kind of your body language and how you say something. Because, I mean, I've seen people run that game and talk about something that they clearly know nothing about, but it's so convincing that you're like, maybe he does know something about rocket science. Maybe he is an expert in it. And that really just shows you the power of soft skills. Unfortunately, you have these two stats, your body language and convincibility, and then your actual technical skills. And most people should max both of them, but usually what do? Like I said, they usually have, they either max technical skills or they have like mediocre technical skills. And then their soft skills are down in the drains. What ends up happening? Like, well, the perception is what matters. And then even if you have really good technical skills and poor soft skills, sometimes it creates doubt in the hiring manager because they think you don't know what you're talking about, even when you do. That's the real tragedy that I've encountered, that others have encountered, that really frustrates me. I've definitely bombed a few job interviews in the past where it really just didn't work or happen because my soft skills were so low. So That's the tragedy you want to avoid, and you want to beat those villains who have really high communication skills and terrible technical skills, because at that point you're almost like a con artist. Usually it's more like in the middle somewhere. And so to prevent that and get the job you deserve, the next criteria is essentially having that ability to display your body language in a way that shows that level of skill. Now you can break this out into multiple pieces, but just at an introductory fundamental level, I think one is the volume of how you speak. If you're speaking very loud, it's usually more convincing than if you're speaking very soft. It's less engaging. It also can kind of imply less confidence, less certainty, less expertise. So I don't mean you have to shout at the top of your lungs all the time, but usually you are speaking a lot softer than you need to speak to stay engaging. Another thing that you can modulate and work on is when you slow down and when you speed up in conversation. Instead, what most people do is they stay at a very consistent rate of speech the whole time. And what happens when you do this and then you add in a monotone voice with it is things become very boring and repetitive and they zone out. You don't want to do that. So to prevent yourself from doing that, obviously you want to kind of use your tone so there's more fluctuations and little dynamics in it, so it's not all monotone all the time. But also you want to slow down when you're saying something very important and then speed up again when you're talking about more normal stuff, which creates kind of that charisma that you'll see in TED Talks or with anyone you've seen that's charismatic. So those are two things. There's obviously other big things that you can focus on, but I think those are some of the two big levers in terms of soft skills that you can work on today that will see results. And then I think the third criteria is kind of a bit more holistic, but it's kind of just having preparation and having the questions that you want ready and having a solid, impressive answer. So to do this, usually I have prepared a way of conveying that, usually by having numbers ready, because people love numbers. Like especially if you can say something like, I increased business or leads or revenue by 314%, or I increased traffic or followers or social media count by this amount by doing this. They love those concrete numbers. And so having those kind of tidbits prepared in your mind or with like a diagram or a PowerPoint or something you could pull out, that'll be very impressive versus the average person you're competing against who's just coming up with stuff off the top of their head. They don't have those numbers prepared and they're just kind of waffling and saying those things. So there's a bit of skill involved. Some of it is soft skills. Some of it is actually having credibility and showing that with numbers and prepared answers. And then last but not least, I guess the bonus tip is just think of what you think the hiring manager, that team, that culture would actually want to hang around. They're not just hiring a person for a job, but usually at any company, you're going to be part of that team and they expect you to be on there for at least a year. So they want to hire someone they can actually enjoy hanging around, actually enjoy, spending time with to a degree. And so I'm not saying you should become someone fake that's completely off base from who you are, but you should adopt some qualities and traits if you don't already have them and show them and demonstrate them to show that you're someone who's actually kind of fun and engaging, or you don't have to be the life of the party, but at least someone that you would picture you would want to hang around. So let's do that exercise. What qualities would that person have and what qualities would they not have? Not is usually easier. And usually I think I see this a lot. I see people who are a bit too monotone, too shy, too boring, too quiet, too just like not contributing much to conversations. And I'm not saying you have to be the opposite to too much of a degree, but when they're just like, there and it's just like not too much, do people really want to hang around them? The opposite may be someone who's like engaging, a little bit funny, a little bit curious about yourself, maybe a little bit upbeat, positive, optimistic. Now this exercise is really important because having, like I said, sat at both ends of the hiring table and then hired people, helped hire people, been on teams, seen employees come and go, see people get hired and stay for 3, 4, 5, 7 years. Also see people getting hired and then getting let go in like 3, 4 months. This exercise is really important because I think a lot of them just make the mistake that, wow, I got the job, or oh, it's all just about technical skills. And then their mind shuts off, or they're just more ignorant. They're just completely ignorant to kind of the other aspects of the job at play. And they're maybe a bit pessimistic, and it's putting people down slightly, but they don't notice it. Or they're just very boring. They don't contribute anything when people are having small talk at the start of meetings. They're just sitting there. Those little things can add up and be either a tipping scale or something that just lets you, stay with the company and be valued. Like it could be the tipping scale letting you get fired or not hired in the first place. So all these things come together and really help you get the job. So really work on it. And I could do a part 2, part 3 to this video because there's so many tips. It's a whole skill set, and it can make or break. It's probably one of the most underrated skills because it can make or break you getting a job that is worth tens of thousands of dollars more per year versus you staying at your current job. And unfortunately, most people don't spend any time working on this skill. So it's really one of the most underrated skills with a huge payoff. And I could talk about this. I could do a whole hour-long masterclass on this, but I'm going to cut it there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, join my free email newsletter.